Hello and welcome to Glory Goals. On today's episode, it's something a bit different and hopefully the start of a new series that we're going to be doing. Max, who's a member of Glory Goals, who's the amazing painter who you see some of his amazing painting and that comes up on the channel now and again. He's been playing a lot of Kill Team recently, so he's been showing off loads of his conversions, loads of his amazing paint jobs, and now he's gone into terrain building. And as you can probably assume, it does look amazing. We've asked Max if he'd share how to do some of his cool terrain pieces, so he's put together a really cool instructional video about how to make an orc barrier, as it's now October 2018. So yeah, it's basically how to build a barrier. If you guys like it, I'm sure Max will be really keen to show some more terrain building videos and then hopefully some painting tutorials in the near future. So without further ado, hope you enjoy the video and let's crack on with Max.
This is what we're going to make today, which is a barrier that I've designed for Kill Team for use on my orcs, but you could use it for any kind of post-apocalyptic idea. These are the kind of key parts, which is some tubes, some elbows, a couple of green stuff world. This is some kind of really interesting bit of the video where I'm working out how much tube I need to get the barrier to the right height. I know I'm aiming at about 27 mil because that seems to be a good height for stuff to kind of poke its head over. So I kind of had to work out how much additional height the elbows created. So to start with a line, add an elbow on, realised that it had about 7 mil. So if I'm going for a barrier about 27 mil high, I need a piece of pipe about 13 mil. So do that by drawing on a line. Highly precise it is. Cut it out really easily, just roll it backwards and forwards with a knife, using the lines on my cutting mat as a guide. I found I needed to give it quite an aggressive filing to get it to go into the elbows nicely. I guess that's partly because when I cut it, it probably goes slightly oval with the pressure of the knife. And it's a really tight fit into those elbows, so good going over with a needle file seemed to solve that problem. My first test fit doesn't go very well. When I kind of put it together, I'm quite excited. I think it looks great. But then I measure it and it's over 3 centimeters. I'm starting to worry that I can't do maths, but I realise it's just I actually can't push things together properly. There it is, 27. So I've added another piece of pipe in the end, and I was just giving it a bit of a file to get a nice flat edge, which is where I'm hoping the barrier is going to stand. You'll see later, spoiler alert, that doesn't work. I want to make this pipe look a bit like it's kind of been ripped out. I want to make this barrier appear that orcs have just kind of scavenged some bits and brought them together to make this barrier. So I'm just cutting out some lumps out of this pipe to make it look a bit rough and ready. Do not hold your scalpel like this, small children, if you're watching this. This is bad practice, I'm sure. I've still got all 10 fingers, not quite sure how, but they're all still attached. I've actually built 2 of these things, look, one for each end of the barrier, and then obviously going to sit at this kind of 90-degree angle, and I've got another piece of tube that I've cut to 9 centimeters long, and it just pokes in the end. I kind of guessed at this width it seemed to work quite nicely and turned out alright. So whack these all on. The elbows fit really nicely, they're a nice tight fit so you can have a good test before you have to kind of glue. So you can see this is how I'm planning on this thing standing up, right? So that's why I filed them down, because I think they're just going to stand at home. But it just falls over. And it falls over. And it falls over. So had to think of something else. And this was my solution, which was to use some more material from Green Stuff World, and I'm going to use this H-beam 6mm profile, and I just cut off a couple of lengths, and I held it up to the barrier and kind of eyeballed what looked like a reasonable angle. I just sliced off one end to get it to stand out, and the other end I kind of profiled it to go around my piping. So just filed out a bit, held up the pipe, filed out a bit more, until I got quite a nice fit. The joys of building stuff that's orky is it doesn't have to be perfect. Well, actually, it got pretty darn close in the end, for being a very nice, neat fit. the one thing that was important was that this is the surface that I'm going to glue, so I want as good a contact patch as I can get. Plastic cement does a good job of kind of filling in some gaps and melting things away. So once I've got those, I had to think about the length or the width of the cover that I'm going to make for those. So could use maths or just measure it. So I know that if I make something that's 3.5 centimeters, I'm going to have a little bit of overlap. I'm using this very flexible metal material that came from Green Stuff World. I don't actually know what metal it is, but it's cool. It's kind of flexible. It's quite light. Maybe aluminium. Don't know. Cuts very nicely with a scalpel. And you can see I've already measured out a piece that's 11 centimeters long by 3.5 centimeters. When I put it through the corrugator, it makes it shorter. I've learned that it's about a third. You go about a third bigger, which is interesting because I want this to be about 9 centimeters, and I've got to 11. The plan is, I've got plans for this already, is that I'm going to put a plate over this barrier like it's been repaired. So I want to make it look like it's been shot. So I just cut a kind of pattern in for later use. This looks a bit odd at this stage, but trust me, it makes sense. And again, I want to kind of make this barrier look like it's been stolen, a piece have been nicked. So I want to kind of make one end look a bit rough. So just put some cuts in here now at this stage, because it's easier to do now before I try and put through the corrugator. And here is my corrugator, tool I'm very excited about. So you just clamp a bit of metal down in one end, hold it down hard, and then turn the key. But it won't work if it's on desk, because the key is the desk. Lesson learned. So hold it the other way, give it a twist. If you get it straight, then the corrugations will be straight. If you put it in the wonk, the corrugations are going to be on the wonk. You can kind of get away with it. I've learned if you give it a bit of a tug out, you get a kind of more realistic corrugation. When it first comes out, it's quite a tight shape. I guess if you didn't hold it quite so tight, maybe it wouldn't happen. But I kind of found that if you squeeze that tight. At this point, I've made a little offcut from another piece, and I've chopped some chunks out of that, and I'm now just taking a file to go around the edge. Again, you see it's very soft material, so very nice to work with. I'm just sort of poking it with a file to give it a kind of rusted, eroded appearance. I do that quite a lot around this little piece, but I'm also going to do some on the big bit too, particularly up on this end that I've already kind of pre-sliced up a bit. If you poke it quite a lot, you can actually get some bits to fall off. I've realised that it's now very, very sharp, and I'm thinking when I spray that with the first undercoat, that's likely to not stick very well. So I'm just taking a file and taking off the very kind of sharpest edges. Now I'm going to make a cool Orc logo. So I did that by getting some Orc logos from the internet and sticking them in PowerPoint, checking a couple of different sizes to give me some options until I find something that looks about right, and here it is. So all I've done at this stage is I've sticked one of those logos onto a piece of plastic card, and I'm now just going to use that to cut out and give me the guide. I stupidly hadn't let the glue dry, so the thing pulled off a bit. You're not trying to cut through the plastic card at this stage, you're just trying to transfer the lines from your picture onto the plastic, which you can then use later to actually cut it out. So by now I've gone around all of that logo and transferred the logo, the shape that I want onto the plastic card. You just wipe the pieces off your finger, and there it is. I haven't included the joyous process of me cutting out because it took forever. The eyes and nose were hardest, but I just used a tiny little pin vise drill to hollow them out, and then took the scalpel and kind of gave them a sharp edge. Now I'm going to make the plate set to sit on. Highly precise, right? So I've whacked it on the plastic card that's got some nice rough edges on it already, and then cut them into, seems about right to say, pretend the plan was to cut it a bit too big, and then I could always make it a bit smaller. So you're not trying to cut through again, you just cut, and then give it a snap, and there it comes. The kind of curved edges didn't look hugely metally to me, so I've just gone in and kind of tried to straighten those out a bit, kind of imagining what a metal plate that's been cut or snapped off somewhere else might look like. So just give it a slightly more kind of jagged edge. Suddenly at this point I think I've already tested whether it fit, and it actually does, it looks alright. It kind of covers up my shotgun or explosion hole, and it fits quite nicely next time fits. Now I want to make this metal look really kind of tatty and worn. So what I've done is I've coated it with some plastic glue. The one I'm using happens to be the Citadel one. You just stick a good old glob of it all around the edge. This is actually my second go of doing this. I've always done it once. Just let it on, just leave it for a moment, and then take something. I'm happy to be using a couple of sculpting tools or dentist tools, let's be fair, and just kind of smushing it in all around the edge. Because I want texture and variety, I'm trying to do that as inconsistently as I can, so try and do it differently on different sides and with different amounts of pressure and using different bits of the tool on different pieces. You get this cool thing that happens here where some of it kind of actually starts to look kind of melted with plastic glue. I actually kind of use that to smush back on to create even more texture. And in a moment I start to use the pointed edge, there we go, to kind of create some slightly deeper kind of points of corrosion, and I'll take my different tool which has got a flatter edge and give that a good old scratch over, and then give it a bit of a poke with this end, again just to create some variety. And here it is really. So I've set the logo on now. I want to create the impression of how this plate has been joined onto my corrugated metal. So take a bit of this 2mm hexagon again from Green Stuff World, and I'm going to make the idea of these is that they are some bolt heads, so it looks like this plate's been kind of bolted on, thinking of Orc technology, and just trying to cut this down as kind of thin as I dare really, using the same techniques as the tube. So hold it still, rock it backwards and forwards with the knife, and wait for the little tiny piece you just cut off to ping across your desk. Going to do now. No, there it goes. So I did that with 4 of those, and then you glue them on. I used a file later to get them down absolutely square and flat with the surface. I made them a little bit shallower. They stood out a bit too tall, and also just to make sure that I've got a nice clean edge on them to get them to be as hexagonal as I possibly could. So they really kind of gave that impression of being bolts. Green Stuff World did this here in a couple of different sizes. There's this bigger one at 2mm. I think I've got a 1mm one, which is cool. The thing I found about that is that unless you look really close to the 1mm one, actually almost just looks like a circle. You need some good eyesight to be able to spot for that hexagonal, and it deforms quite a lot when you cut it. So 2mm seems to do a good job, and there it is. So here's my barrier all stuck together, and I've glued my random plates onto my big piece of corrugated metal, whack on a bit of super glue. I'm using a gel super glue here. It's very nice for this job because it kind of hangs on, and we'll fill in the gaps. And again, the great stuff about this corrugated metal is that it bends and you can form it. So you kind of push it on, give it a kind of squeeze in, and it will actually form to the shape of the stuff that you want. I've let that cure for a few minutes, and it's now pretty rock solid. So I'm going to take some dress pins, and I use these a lot for kind of bolt heads or rivet heads, and I want to now attach or show how the Orcs attach this piece of corrugated metal to their random pipe and H-beam structure. So little drill hole through, remembering not to drill through your finger, and then just take one of the pin and poke it through. I use a bit of glue on that later on to hold it in place, and I cut it off flush with a pipe and give it a little file to get it down to a nice shape. And I put about 4 or 5 I think along. Here it is after first paint, so it's been painted black, then a coat of silver spray, and then just added some browns, washes all over it, and I've given a blue coat to the panel and a red on the logo. Here I've given it a bit of a more of a wash using some chestnut inks, using some more black into the recesses. Started to highlight the red a little bit, and now it's all had a bit of a dry brush with some silver, again some more chestnuts, some more brown. Started to add some rust effect onto the pipe using some oranges and browns, and I've put a bit of silver in around where the hole is to kind of show that up. I dulled that back down again with some black lead. That looked a bit nuts. I just want to show here a bit about kind of painting into that logo. I'm only using a tile of the palette here, rough jobs like this I don't tend to bother rocking out the wet palette. So I've highlighted the Orc logo up through some reds, and I'm now using an orange to just pick out the edges. These happen to be scale 75 paint, so just thin that down a bit with some water, take some of that and then run it around the edge. I did various different things to the head. I put some scratches on with some silver and used some black lines to give them some depth. But I think I wanted this piece to actually look quite bright and quite new. It's the idea is this head is the kind of newest bits barrier, something that the orcs have added to the scrap metal that they found. So I wanted that to look kind of cleaner than the rest of it. So I haven't washed any of that with any of the browns or black when I've been doing the rest of it. And there it is finished, with a couple of orkies hiding behind it and some of my other terrain pieces sitting in there. You can see the textures and the effects I've gone for. I hope that's useful. We're going to probably try to come back with some more of these, so if you think it's good, let us know. Thanks a lot. Bye bye.